I'm 80 years old now, and where I live I love because it's the best move I ever made in my whole life. When I was 12 years old, I had a spiritual experience, and I never told anybody until I wrote it in my book. In those days, there was no water in the houses, and I was in the well, and the next thing I felt that Our Lady spoke to my heart, and she said I must pray a lot of rosaries. It was beautiful. It was a challenge at first, and then she explained to me the need of it, the need of prayer, and then I was perfect. Never told anybody, never told a sinner, just in my book, never told no one. I realised maybe God is using me in some way. Maybe I have the gift of healing or something. I got a vision of the garden as it is now, and I just walked away, and every Tom, Dick and Harry helped me. Every sort of cure has been done since. But the special place in the garden is where all the stones are. And there was a priest hung in the garden. He was told to leave the garden at the time of Cromwell, and Cromwell said they all had to leave Bandon, all the priests. So he got 2 weeks to leave. He left, he went to France, and he chanced it back again. They interrogated him across the road, and then they hung him here in the corner. But several healings of cancer and everything have happened here. Some people, everybody gets help. Some people get instant healing, more get gradual healing here, and more just get a blessing here. You know, it's the man above us in power. I'm his dish lot going around. I still have the old friends. The old friends are the best. And they're my age and everything. I have two great friends, one since I was 12 years old, and we're going to Lourdes together on Thursday. She has a most fantastic sense of humour. My friendship with women are very, very important to me. They're even like sisters. They're even closer nearly than my sisters are to me.
So I came to Bandon it'll be 18 years ago on October the 13th, and I remember that date because that's the day that I got married in Ireland. My husband and I had eloped to Eileen in Scotland, but everyone was so put out at not having a party. We had a second wedding, and we got word that day that we got the house in Bandon. So I was absolutely thrilled with that, and I just loved the space. Father and mother came down to visit. My dad said, somebody up there loves you. I think I've always been influenced by my mother and grandmother. I suppose my grandmother more because she accepted me first as an adult. My grandmother just loved my curiosity, and God, did I have a lot of questions. She was a real carer, a real nourisher of people. And she was just such a really vibrant, young at heart person. Soulmate for me, maybe the first I ever had. She used to make me this seaweed carrageen moss drink for my chest when I was wee, because I was always quite sickly. And I began to sort of tinker with that. It just really grew from there. So I do make quite a lot of herbal remedies now. I do have some really beautiful friends who come from all kind of backgrounds, all quite wild women in their own way. It's a terrible thing to say, but I've often felt that female relationships are more important, they're more sustaining in a way. Female friendships carry you through your travails in life. Really look after yourself, to really nourish yourself, body, soul and mind, to do the things that bring pleasure to you. After all, looking after yourself is what enables you to actually have healthy relationships.
Bandon was my hometown all my life. I was born St. Patrick's Day. It was actually a nurse treatment that brought me into the world. We're actually here in my father's grave at his headstone, here in Bandon, in St. Patrick's Cemetery. My father was one of the special people in my life. He used to bring us here to St. Patrick's Church, where we used to go to Mass. 6 of us to be collected from school, so he used to just park around near the town park, because he knew he couldn't bring the horse and tractor to school, because we'd hear about it. So he's just waited to come down from the gate from us and let us know he was there. And he says, give us the money, and we used to run downtown to get the sweets. And then we used to go home. The mother used to have the dinner ready for us. He always taught us that if you're at home and if you want this and you want that, there's no one going to get it, although we came from a family of 13. Everyone, like him himself, had experience of when his mother died, he'd go out and provide for his own family. So unless you go and get it yourself, things that you want in life, there's no one else going to get them for you. We were taught how to love one another. If there's anyone down, to go and help them. We were brought up like that because you come from a big family. Always go out and count yourself counted in this world, because if you don't think something of yourself, no one else will.
I remember when the fun fair would come to Bandon, here to the Allen Square, and we would go up and be on the bumper cars and have great fun. I particularly remember it because we were allowed to stay out late. So the O'Mahonys of Bandon would have been the original founders of the settlement here, and would have been the kings of the Bandon area and the Bandon Bridge settlement. In fact, Enniskeane itself is named after Cian O'Mahony, who married Brian Borew's daughter, Sive. So we have the O'Mahonys here have a long, long tradition. O'Mahonys then later on would have come in here towards the town and built on where we now have Castle Bernard. The O'Mahony clan would have built a fortress there, and that then would have been lost during the Desmond rebellions during the Elizabethan reign. And I'm very proud to call myself one of them. I think that education is the greatest gift that can be given. In my role as county councillor, I find that I am getting, in particular, representations from women, and on both levels. Sometimes women who need help, often women feel powerless in their relationships or in the circumstances that life has thrown them, and sometimes they just need someone to talk to. We have a core group of friends going back to early on in secondary school. They're not very involved in my political life, but I always know that they're there as a support and as a help to me. If you are true to yourself and you have a sense of integrity, then you know that you can stand up for what is right, and you'll have no regrets.
We arrived here in Bandon in 2006, and people were terribly welcoming. We went to our local church, as is our wont, and we were just welcomed. We felt really welcomed. It's just, Ireland is such a lovely, friendly place. Now I can't imagine why I didn't want to come and live in Ireland. I must be mad, or I must have been mad. So here we are, 12 years later, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. First time I saw Castle Barnard, I was 13, I think. I came to stay with my father. He wasn't here all the time because he was in the Air Force, so most of the time he was abroad and wherever he was. And I don't really remember my impressions of the castle particularly. It was just a rather spectacular building. It's not safe any longer, which is very sad because it was safe, and we used to have, my children had enormous fun playing in it, and you can't do that anymore. Actually, one of the things I do remember Mummy saying to me was, when you have children, she said, the problem is that you see them making mistakes. And the most frustrating thing about being a mother is that you can't put those right. You have to allow them to make their own mistakes. And I do remember that with my own children, that she was an exceptional woman. My father left when I was, just before I was born. And her reaction to him was always absolutely wonderful, and how wonderful he was. And she just loved him always. She was so forgiving. I think that female relationships are very important. with females, you're coming from the same place, as it were. So you have far more in common, and I really appreciate women friends. Without, if one was completely isolated from women, I think one would become very insular. Oh, what would I do if I didn't have them? Well, I suppose you'd have to cope, wouldn't you? You haven't got any option. Luckily, that isn't the situation. But it is wonderful to be able to laugh, a real good-hearted belly laugh, as it were. And I think it's terribly important too, actually. I think it's very good for you, really, to be able to laugh. I don't really offer advice unless I'm actually asked. I'm not a great offerer of advice. I suppose the pecking order in our family is God first. He's more important than anything. And then husband, close second, obviously. And then the children, and then friends. But when the chips are down, God is more important. God will always be there.
I came to Bandon on 17th of September 2006, and every year actually I remember this date because it was a big step in my life. It was a first real trip 12 years ago, and time passes so quickly. And recently when I looked at my boy, who is now 18, and he was only 6 when we came, I said, that's the real mark of passing time. So I came from the place called Auschwitz. In Polish it means Oświęcim. It used to be the place of concentration camp, but that it was old and lovely town from even in 11th century, so it's a place with great history. But it is a bit like Bandon, comparing, Poland is bigger and Ireland is smaller, but the same atmosphere of the town where you can find everything. My great friend Gladys, I think she's 98, but the thing about her, she doesn't talk about her age. She might be 97 or 98, anyhow. She says, be content. So the Gladys advice is to be content with what you have. And that's it. So be content. Not worry about tomorrow, not be sorry for the past, but be content about today and with what you have. I work as home help with elderly people, and I meet them on daily basis. I meet people who age in different way. Some of them are well, some of them are sick, but what is universal actually, they teach me the lesson that not the age is important, but what attitude towards life we have. I've started to speak less. I'm learning how to listen, because the stories they have, they are incredible. There is no need for discovering America, and neglecting the wisdom of older generation is the biggest loss ever. We are very foolish with exaggerating youth. Youth has the energy, but old age has wisdom, and it's more powerful.
My first time coming into a different country was actually 15 years ago, actually 18 years ago, thinking back. And this was Ireland, and that was for the reason that my mom had books around, and there were generally picture books of Ireland, and I got to sneak them off her without her knowing, because nobody was to touch them. So looking into those books, it looked like a lot of freedom. Also again, from my mom, I got to listen to Irish music, traditional music in fact, and I really enjoyed that as well. And after the wall came down and we were allowed to travel, I actually decided to travel here very first thing. Well, just before the wall came down, when it's all been kind of decided by politicians and things, it was actually really exciting, because it was kind of scary too, because people didn't know what will happen after the wall comes down, whether there be food to be got in the shops, whether what to teach in schools, or what to do with this freedom and this peace in the first place. And we drove over across the border, and in the town that we visited, which was Wolfsburg, that was the name of the town, we got to go shopping with the money we got from the state, which was about 100 marks, in West German marks in fact, and we got to buy a few things, but in the shop, when we had bought a few things and put it in the basket, a man came along and he took the basket of us, and he went to the checkout point and he actually paid the whole lot for us and left us half our money for something else. And we were absolutely amazed by this act of kindness. We unfortunately never figured who it was. It was an older man. We would have loved to thank him, but we never got to do that. But it was a really, really amazing moment. Thank you if you're watching, absolutely, yes. My mom, as you might have guessed at this stage, what she always said to me is to be true to myself, so not to fake myself or, you know, kind of put on games or faces or whatever. Just do what you believe in and, you know, do it at your best. That's all I can do. I think my main advice to any kind of woman is never give up and be yourself. Because if you just fake for others or if you try to please others, you can never ever please everyone.
From a very young age, I always knew I'd become a nun someday, which was a long time off. Well, I had a good social life at college. Went around to all the dances and everything that was on, debates, literary and historical society. I didn't do much study, and then I helped around at college. Everything that was going on, I was there. I was in the Legion of Mary and everything except study.
And tell me, can you remember the first day that you entered the order?
I do. Oh, the lack of light, because I came from the bright dance halls and Patrick Street and all the place lit up, and there were no lights in the streets of Bandon. I was shocked. We weren't allowed to write much, but first Christmas I was allowed to write. I wrote to a friend anyway. I said, there's loads of romantic atmosphere going to waste here. So we're amazed I entered because I had a fairly flirtatious past. I would have really got close to 2 proposals. One in the convent, well, when I was in, nearly, because he came out to see me after 2 years. While I was away, another boyfriend, and he was ahead of me now, and he was an engineer, he was living in Dublin, and he came by to my house to call for me. But I wasn't there. And I entered the following November. He married in Dublin, and he became head of ASK. He was a millionaire over many times over. He was great. So I never had regrets. But it was very tough because you had to get up at 6 and you'd be praying till about 7:30, and you go to bed and you had silence all day, even at the meals, and there's 1 hour talk. My father got a fatal stroke at 48 and he lived for 4 years without speech or movement, so we had to keep him at home. My sister had to give up her nursing to come home and nurse him. And I'm sure and I care now for everybody. And the birds and the animals and any stray cats or mouse is me. I mean, I saw kindness in my house, you know, tolerance. It is laid out 150 years ago, so it's still the same layout. There's paths, and this is a little holy house, a little folly, if you like to call it that. And I have 5 crows that come near me and walk up to me. And they know when I'm going out to feed the cats, I'll feed them too. Well, I have real respect for everything.
Sorry, be content with what you have. Okay, so the Gladys advice is...
Eileen, I'm warning you, I said, never touch the horse's tail, he said.
Is that somebody who needs a spin now, or where's my dinner? Yes, starving.
That's a very good girl. Now, Polly, get down. No, you're not allowed to get up.
You say, who was the gospel according to? It was always John.
So that was really what was kind of being shown in the books.
Really look after yourself. Eat what's good for you. Think thoughts that are good for you. Do the things that you like to do, because it's really important. Say.
Look straight down.
Oh yeah.